Now then, whoops, I know monkey here again. Yeah, this week's video, I've been wondering what I should do. I've got a few banked up and I've had a few suggestions, thank you to those who made them, so they will be coming. But I thought, you know, I'm always harking back to the 70s, I wish I was back in the 1970s, blah blah. Well, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the early mid-70s when I used to read the NME, the Sounds, the Melody Maker. Certainly when I started work in 74 and could afford all three of them, I used to read the print off all three, and I've got the 1973 and 1974 NME annuals here. Great reading, it just reminds you what good stuff it was. But anyway, what thinking about the NME back then has inspired me to do is to do something which is really stupid and futile and a load of bollocks really, but it's to list my sort of top 10 guitarists, top 10 lead singers, top 10 bass players, top 10 drummers, etc, etc. So I'm going to start with lead guitarists this week. And why is it bollocks? Well, I mean, who am I to comment on this? I'm not a musician, really. I do have a guitar and strum 3 or 4 chords, but I'm not a musician. I don't really understand music. I just know what I like to listen to. And I mean, especially with the electric guitar, where really the sound that comes out of it is not necessarily to do with, or certainly not all to do with, technical competence. Or the ability to play the thing, you know, it is what it says on the tin, it's electric, and you can plug all sorts of things into it, you can get all sorts of effects and tones and muck about with your amplifiers and your pedals and all sorts of other things to create sounds out of the electric guitar which are not necessarily tied to competence as a guitar player and musician. It's a whole broader sort of area, but I know what I like to listen to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my top 10 guitars. Before I did, I just thought, just for a bit of fun, I had a look at the who was winning these NME awards back in the 70s, and so I you can Google them up like you can most things these days. So and I used to you know, religiously vote for these. They used to send in me votes for best bass player and drummer and keyboard player, and I always used to try and vote for people who were sort of left field, or, you know, not the main ones. And you know, so I never voted for Eric Clapton, despite the fact that he won in 73, 74, 75 on these awards. But I just thought I'd pick a couple out just for so in 1972, top British male singer Cliff Richard, believe it or not. Top British group T-Rex, well, I'm not going to argue with that. Top disc jockey Jimmy Savile. Top album, a tie between Electric Warrior and Imagine. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that either. So yeah, and then by 1974 we'd gone on to, as I said, best guitarist was Clapton. I'll stick with guitarists from now on, but by 76 that had migrated to Jimmy Page. But then after that, punk hit it, obviously, and so we've got best guitarist is Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols, best band, the Sex Pistols, best drummer, blah blah. Disc jockey, thankfully, is not Jimmy Savile by then, it's John Peel. And they've created a new category, or a couple of new categories. I'm sure I'll have voted for these, but this is NME Awards 1977, so the winner of the most wonderful human being in the world, Johnny Rotten, and the winner of the Pratt of the Year, which I'm probably certain I would have voted for, Freddie Mercury. But anyway, you can get a sense of how the magazine was sort of changing. But yeah, so it's harking back the 70s. These are my top 10 favourite lead guitarists, and what I'm going to do is because I can't put graphics, I'm useless technically on these videos, I'm going to hold these up so that you can see who I'm talking about as I go through them. So the first one on my list is an American from Texas, and this is Stevie Ray Vaughan. Stevie Ray Vaughan, the album I'm holding up is actually his posthumous album. This was released just after he tragically died in a helicopter crash in America, just after a gig. In fact, he'd been sharing the stage with one or two of the other guitarists on this list, and one or two top guitarists who aren't on this list on that night. But yeah, this is what I call bar blues or pub blues at its very, very best. And Stevie Ray Vaughan is just a great blues guitarist. I think he's got a really natural style. He really interprets these blues songs, some of which is their own, some of which are covers, but interprets them absolutely beautifully and naturally. And yeah, this is the sound of blues guitar I love, with a pint in my hand in a pub or a small club. But my number 10, I'm going to make a point as well, I'm only holding up ones there I've got the vinyl. I mean, some of the old great blues guitarists I haven't actually got on vinyl. And maybe my favourite blues guitarist of all time is one of the most unique, style-wise anyways, John Lee Hooker. So he's not on my list, but Stevie Ray Vaughan is at number 10. At number 9, I've got Declan Sinnott. And Declan Sinnott, yeah, Irish, late 60s, maybe 70 now, something like that, but pretty much dedicated much of his musical career to supporting Irish folk singers, specifically Mary Black and Christy Moore. And I've seen Declan Sinnott playing with Christy Moore on several occasions. Absolutely beautiful. I'm holding up Christy Moore's album Unfinished Revolution, on which Declan Sinnott makes a fantastic contribution. But he's just he's got a beautiful deftness, if you like, and he just fills in between Moore's, I mean, when I see him, it's just Christy Moore singing, and maybe he might be playing a bodhran, and Declan Sinnott is on an electric guitar, just deftly and gently and melodically sort of filling in between the lines and everything. And yeah, absolutely gorgeous player, love his playing. And he's got a couple of solo albums out which I haven't got actually, but I've had a listen to on YouTube, sound really good as well. So that's my number 9. My number 8 is another American. Most of these happen to be Americans as it happens, but anyway, this is Chuck Prophet. Chuck Prophet, I think, is a really underrated singer-songwriter and guitarist. This is his album Bobby Fuller Died for Your Sins, relatively recent album. But yeah, I've seen Chuck Prophet a few times. He started out in the band Green on Red. Chuck Prophet, he's as I say, he's a great singer-songwriter. He's self-deprecating. He doesn't take himself too seriously, and I think that's dead important with a lead guitarist. Really, yeah, it's just an absolute joy to watch, and he can do the searing, lead guitar breaks if he wants, or he can do the more subtle stuff, but he can do it all really. But yeah, lovely stuff. One of my favourite guitarists to listen to, Chuck Prophet. I think that was number 8. My number 7, I mean, I mentioned that a lot of players use pedals and effects and amplifiers and all sorts of other methods to distort and change the sound, and this is a guy who didn't really. He played with a really clean sound. This is Robert Cray, and I loved Robert Cray's first 3 or 4 albums. I mean, I think after that they maybe got a bit samey, maybe ran out of a little bit of steam, but his first 3 or 4 albums, just lovely, sort of pretty straight ahead blues songs. But he, as I say, plays with this beautiful sort of clean, fresh sort of sound, which is yeah, it's different and I like it. So I've got that as my number 7, Robert Cray. My number 6 is another Robert, but entirely different. This is Robert Fripp, sometimes known as the guitarist who sits. He sits on stage in his live performances, and he is the sort of one of the founders and only constant member of the band King Crimson. Oh, I didn't hold up my Robert Cray album. That's one of his, I think it's his second one. False Accusations, great album. Yeah, I'm holding up, for Robert Fripp, I'm holding up Lark's Tongues in Aspic, which I think, I mean, any of these early Crimson albums showcase Fripp's unique approach to guitar playing, I think. I mean, he is at the other end of the spectrum. He uses all sorts of things. I think he invented things to distort and make his guitar sound different. He invented his own tunings to create a unique sound. I think he called something Frippatronics, I think was the name of something he was using. But and rather than a sort of blues rock sort of sound, I think Fripp's sort of style emanates more from sort of classical and jazz end of things, really. So he does sound very, very different, and he's not only played with King Crimson. I mean, he's appeared on hundreds and hundreds, literally maybe more than 500 or 600 albums. He's credited all over the place. People get him in because he's such a great guitarist, and of course now he's with his Mrs. Toyer. He does his little vlogs, the Sunday, what is it, Sunday lunch, Sunday morning, whatever. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Anyway, that's my number 5, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, my number 4. This is a very different guitarist again. This is Stephen Drozd. From the Flaming Lips, Stephen Drozd. This is the Flaming Lips American Head, great double album. And Stephen Drozd is someone who, he was the drummer originally in Flaming Lips, and he only really, although he was a musician, he can play keys, guitars, drums, anything really. Comes from a musical family. But he was the drummer, and it was only when their original guitarist moved on that he really picked up the guitar, and he creates these, sometimes you're not sure what type of instrument you're listening to with Stephen Drozd. He creates these sort of epic soundscapes, these textures, these sort of layers of sound that are just coming at you from, and I don't know how he does it. I mean, as I say, I'm not a musician, and neither am I a technician, but he does create these unique sounds which are a perfect match for the sort of epic songs that the Flaming Lips specialise in, really. If you listen to the Soft Bulletin or Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots, you know, those albums, those sounds are pretty much all coming from Stephen Drozd, sometimes with keys, but usually with his guitar. So great player, love listening to them. Stephen Drozd, my number 4. My number 3 is one where I really noticed the difference one musician in a band can make, and this is Mark Ribot. And Mark Ribot, I suppose, is perhaps most famous for being the guitarist that defined the sound of Tom Waits' second incarnation from this album Rain Dogs onwards for about the next 10 or more albums from this. Mark Ribot's sort of edgy, angular, spiky guitar style really sort of matched the sort of sharp lyrics and odd sounds that Waits was creating, and he's just very, very different. Whether he's technically brilliant or just very, very innovative, I have no idea. Somebody can maybe tell me about that. But he has played with other people. He's played with Elvis Costello and lots of other people as well. But I've got him down as a really, really good guitarist, and someone who really made me think about what difference, as I say, a change of guitarist can, or a change of any instrument player can make on an artist's sound. Mark Ribot, my number 4. My number 3 is someone who I've seen a few times, and this guy is just absolutely brilliant. This is Nels Cline. He's the guitarist with Wilco. He joined Wilco, oh God, I don't know, 10 years or more ago. This was the first album he appeared on. What year was this? 2007, so about 15 years ago. This is Sky Blue Sky, brilliant album. And Nels Cline, yeah, he was an avant-garde sort of jazz, free jazz guitarist. I've got one or two of his jazz albums that he still makes with a Nels Cline quintet, and it's sort of off the wall, you know, far end of the spectrum sort of stuff. And sometimes Jeff Tweedy of Wilco, who write sort of relatively straight ahead songs, so they don't know, you know, they're not sure exactly where to fit him in. Well, he fits in absolutely beautifully on, well, not just this LP, but every LP, and certainly live as well. I mean, clearly he's coming from a different musical place to the rest of them, but he adds something rather than distracts from the brilliant songwriting that Tweedy and his colleagues perform. And his live performances, I mean, he's absolutely fantastic to watch. This guy, he looks like, when he gets going, he looks like he's plugged into the mains, you know, instead of the amp being plugged in. It looks like he's actually plugged in, and fantastic spectacle to watch him getting into it. Watch, let me think, Impossible Germany, that's a good one. If you watch that one on YouTube, the Wilco song Impossible Germany. So that's my number 3. My number 2 is J.J. Cale. This is his album Naturally. J.J. Cale, yeah, quiet, introvert, never wanted to be a rock star apparently. Quietly going about, bringing stuff out. He was pretty much under the radar. And then a guy started nicking his songs. Well, not actually nicking them, but Eric Clapton covered 2 of his songs, at least 2 anyway, 2 that he made famous, After Midnight and Cocaine. And not only did he cover his songs, he heard J.J. Cale back in the early 70s, I think, and he decided to change his whole style and approach to guitar playing, away from the sort of blistering blues rock to this very mellow, gentle, effortless, understated sort of style that personifies J.J. Cale. But J.J. Cale is the absolute master. All his albums are gorgeous. This one's called Naturally. This is absolutely beautiful. Listen to the song Magnolia, absolutely beautiful song. And it wasn't only Clapton that ripped him off, of course. It was also Martin Knopfler, Dire Straits, pretty much copied J.J. Cale's sort of style. And yeah, fair play, created some of his own nice songs, Knopfler, particularly early on, Sultans of Swing, etc., but very much based on J.J. Cale's style. So brilliant guitarist, understated, as I say, effortless, gorgeous. J.J. Cale, my number 2. Which leaves me for the number 1, and I'm not going to say anything about the number 1. You'll know who it is. It's Jimi Hendrix. This is Hendrix in the West, which is a recording of 2 live concerts, one in San Diego and one in the Isle of Wight. It's one of my favourite albums. I mean, he only made 3 studio albums, which are all brilliant, top class, 5-star albums. But some of the live stuff and some of the stuff that they dug out of the vaults has been nicely done as well. And yeah, this is a great one. But I'm not going to say anything about Hendrix. It's all been said before. Look it up if you want. If you haven't heard it and you want to know more. So that's my top 10 lead guitarists. Having said that, there's loads and loads of lead guitarists in every town that are absolutely brilliant. There's a lad in Hartlepool, they call him the Ginger Hendrix, young lad Daniel Darcy. But there's a absolutely brilliant, you know, you can stand up in a pub and you're absolutely entranced. And every town has loads of these people. But there's some of the ones I like listening to in recorded music. And I'm going to go through the other instruments as well on a little mini series before I get back on track. So thanks for watching. Comments welcome. Cheers. Ta-ra.